Hello, I'm Rachel from the Healthy Room, and today I'm talking about period pain with Leora Leboff from auraholistictherapies.com. I'll have the link up below the screen in a minute. She's a fellow fertility massage practitioner. She's also an expert aromatherapist, and she's also a certified EFT practitioner. She's got the full AAMET certification, which is actually quite rare in the world of EFT. And she's got a clinic in northwest London and also on Skype. Leora, hello and welcome.
Hello. Hi there, Rachel.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. So, first of all, I was just wondering if you could tell us about your period pain journey and how you got from where you were then and where you are today.
Oh, period pain was the bane of my life. Truly, truly was the bane of my life. Every period would be pretty much a nightmare. There were very few periods that were without the nightmare experience of incredible pain. Sometimes, if you had to scale it from 1 to 10, I'd be off the scale. Couldn't even give it a 10. It would be more than that. So it took 10 years actually to realise what the problem was. Apart from physically having a womb that was misaligned, would have been retroflex, so pointing backwards and really holding on to my blood each month. But there was a big, huge emotional link as well. I had a birth trauma 10 years previous to when I finally found the freedom of being able to enjoy my periods. And it was actually working through the emotions of the birth trauma and that experience that I actually found that I was reliving the experience every month.
Wow.
So there was that emotional pull and that emotional link to basically every month's bleed. I don't recommend it.
No, that sounds horrific. But obviously, you're in a better place now.
I'm in a much happier place now. Hugely happy to a point that I actually enjoy every month as it comes around.
Wow, thank you for sharing. So, we're talking today about EFT and how it can be used to help period pain. Did you use that to help yours in any way, shape, or form?
Partly, yes, very much so. A huge part was, as we both know, the fertility massage and all that brings with it, the physical and the emotional. But yes, I worked with EFT as well, with dealing with a lot of the story around that trauma that happened.
Wow.
Now 12 years ago.
Oh, I'm glad you're in a better place now.
Thank you.
So, could you explain to us what EFT is? Because I know a lot of people are not familiar with it, or they may have heard of tapping.
Yes, that's the common terminology for it is tapping. So EFT, emotional freedom techniques. It's using various techniques to allow a distance between an emotion, an event, a feeling, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, through tapping on acupressure points. So it was described by one of my teachers as acupuncture for the emotions without the needle. So I like that. That's a nice succinct way of describing it. My first EFT teacher that I did my level 1 with actually described it beautifully as well, as being able to draw a veil between the emotion again, or the event, the trauma, the feeling, the physical pain, knowing that it's there because whatever has happened, but there's the veil between you and it where you don't feel the emotional charge anymore. It's not denial, but it's really genuinely not feeling that emotional charge.
That sounds like a very healing journey for someone to go on.
It certainly can be. on what I see and what I've experienced.
Yes. So today we're going to show women who suffer from period pain the basics so that they can kind of help themselves a little bit using this technique. Can you walk us through the process?
Okay, so with something that women can do at home without necessarily seeing a practitioner is to follow a simple routine of tapping on various parts of the body, starting with the hand. So it's starting with the hand at the side of the hand where your little finger is, which is known as the karate chop point, quite simply because it's the karate chop point. So you would be using your four fingers on the karate chop point and saying some words, which I'll explain.
Yeah.
But then following that, tapping on various parts of the head and the face, working down to your collarbone and underneath your arm at your bra line. So I can show you what they are. So in my training and my practice, we start on the head. So the top of the head, you can tap around if you want to make sure the acupressure point is actually hit. Coming down to the inside of your eyebrow. And then coming down to the side of the eye. And then under the eye. And then under your nose. And then between your lower lip and your chin in the little crevice there. Mm-hmm. And then your collarbone. And then under your arm, as I say, on the bra line. Mm-hmm. There are other points that you can work on, but these are the easiest to work on yourself.
Does it matter if you get the order wrong?
The order, not really, because each point represents a different meridian in your body, an energy system in your an energy point in your body, which will then relate to. It might relate to an organ, or it might relate to an emotion. So if you instinctively find yourself tapping or wanting to go to a certain point first, then trust your intuition, which is a huge part of this. Trust yourself and stay with that point, and then go on from there.
Good, so people can't get it wrong.
No.
That's always brilliant when you hear that. So in terms of setting up my space, obviously you want somewhere quiet, I'm guessing, where you don't
Absolutely. Number one, have a glass of water. Oh. Have you got your glass of water there, Rachel?
I have a glass of water.
Yes. Any energy work, any work like this where energy is shifting, it's really important to have water and just flush out whatever has been shifted. Stay hydrated. So yes, quiet is important. Quiet is important, but if you do find yourself in a situation at work or even on the train, you can, at work, there's always the toilet cubicle, which is always a useful one to go to.
Confess a few years ago, I went to the toilet cubicle and tapped away.
It's okay. You can think the words through. You don't need to be saying them. That's fine. If you're on a train, actually, the tapping is important, but you can also tap with intention as well. So thinking the words through, or feeling the words, just thinking what the issue is, and just imagine yourself working through each of the points. So there's currency in that one too. You can find
also
that.
Still do the karate chop point quite discreetly without.
You can just be sitting with your hands in your lap and just very, very calmly do a bit of that. Absolutely.
I love how flexible this is. It's brilliant. Okay, so we've got our space where we're not too embarrassed to do anything, but if you have to, you can retreat to the toilet cubicle.
Yeah.
We've got our water. What else do we need?
So Having an idea. The ideal is that you do have an idea of exactly what you want to be working on. If you become overwhelmed with emotion, and you are on your own, and you're happy to do the physical tapping, don't worry about the wording. I have had clients that have struggled with finding the right words. And that's okay. Don't worry about having to find the right words. Tap on the feeling. Just tap through the points on that feeling, and that's okay as well.
Okay. So can you take me through a session if we imagine that I'm in a bout of crazy period pain? I do remember those days.
So, start off by just closing your eyes and taking a nice deep breath in through your nose and gently releasing that. And if you take yourself to a place where you remember how bad that period pain was, is there an emotion that you can connect with that?
I can think of a couple actually. So this was one time when I was at work. I retreated to the toilet, and I was doubled over, and I was really annoyed that I was in so much pain because I felt that my body had failed me. I was also really worried and embarrassed that I was missing and I was letting my colleagues down because I wasn't there working on the project with them. So I was kind of frightened about how it would be interpreted.
Okay. Well, wow. You see that you see how powerful this is. In that short time, you've given some beliefs, but you've shared the emotion, but you've also shared some beliefs, which is something that we would deal with in a one-to-one session and really really work on those beliefs. But for today, we will. The first thing you said was you were annoyed.
Just really angry that my body was fighting against me and stopping me from being able to live a normal life.
So there was anger that your body was fighting against you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if for today, then we can use that. As you're talking about it, remembering it, is there anywhere in your body? No, let's go back to that. On a scale, in EFT we give things a scale, so it's something to really to gauge how the emotions are shifting. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is no emotional charge at all, and 10 is really really high charge, where are you?
I have to take myself back
with that emotion.
On that day, I was probably somewhere between an 8 and a 9.
Okay, so that would have been high.
It wasn't maximum, but it was pretty bad.
Thinking about that and thinking about that high emotion, can you feel that anywhere in your body?
I remember at the time it's along here, sort of along the chest, between the shoulders at the front, sort of really.
In your chest. So there again, that shows that even though you're experiencing period pain, so in your lower abdomen and wherever else that was coming out, the emotional pain was being shown in your upper chest. Yeah. So then again, in EFT, that's what we'll be working with. So you're up at an 8 or 9 with being angry with your body working against you. So we'll start with a setup phrase, and that's what we do as we're tapping on the karate chop point. So if you tap along with that and use the words, even though
I
I feel angry.
I feel angry.
That my body is working against me.
That my body is working against me.
I feel that in my chest, across my chest.
I feel that in my chest, across my chest.
But I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel such anger. That my body is working against me. And I feel it in my chest. But I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel this deep anger. That my body was working against me. I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, come to the top of your head. Feeling anger.
Am I repeating this? Sorry.
You're repeating.
Feeling
anger. My body, come down to the inside of your eyebrow. My body's working against me. Outside of your eyebrow. Feeling anger that my body's working against me. Underneath the eye. Feeling anger that my body's working against me. Underneath the nose. Feeling angry that my body is working against me. Underneath your lip. Feeling anger that my body is working against me. Collarbone. Feeling anger that my body is working against me. And underneath your arm. Feeling anger that my body is working against me. And then close your eyes, take a deep breath in. And release that. So I'll be asking at this point how that 8 or 9 is. And how
already, even though I wasn't feeling tense before this call, I can sort of feel this part loosening up.
How your chest is, there you go.
Yeah, even though it was in the past, it still feels like it's loosened up along here.
Yeah. And what we do in a session is continue those rounds with an aim to get to a 0. And if we can't get down to a 0, then explore why, what the reasons are, and anything else that we can tap on to get down to that 0 on that particular emotion and that particular discomfort.
Wow, and it is, I use it myself, it is a very, very effective technique, and it's so simple that anyone can use it anywhere, and I really hope that people watching can tap along with this. I know some people do feel anger at their pain, but other people have other emotions, and hopefully they can say their own phrase in their mind. But I know even just the tapping along, even if they're not sure on the words, will help them.
Yeah. It's called surrogate tapping, and not surrogate tapping, borrowing benefits. So as you tap along, I mean there are lots of there's telesummits that are on with tapping, and so they are reaching thousands of people, not knowing what everybody's individual problem is, but by borrowing benefits from the experience, then yes, there's a huge amount of work that can be done. But yes, like you say, with the period pain, I mean, there could be an anger connection, there could be guilt, there could be
sadness, loss.
a whole heap of emotions that go back to, I mean, like in my case, going back to an event that carried me through. It could even go back to your first experience of your first bleed at your menarche. So there's a lot that could be explored emotionally that can be overlooked when you're looking for problems with dealing with period pain. That emotional link can be huge.
I agree, 100%. And it's even the most surprising things that you don't think are linked can come up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just a few questions that some people sometimes ask about tapping when they're trying on their own.
Yeah.
How long do you tap for? I mean, do you do 1 cycle? Do you do 10 cycles?
It really is when you feel that emotional charge dispersing and releasing. So gauge it. If it's not working in 1 or 2 rounds of exactly what we did, do keep going. Just keep going for as long as you do feel some change, and it may be that the focus changes slightly, which is fine if you're working on your own. But if you actually find that no amount of tapping helps, it might be by yourself, then it might be a point that you would think about seeing a practitioner and work through because there are several techniques that can be used. This is almost like, I would call it tapping first aid.
Yes, it's very basic.
Which is great and hugely useful. But to get to those real core issues and those limiting beliefs, that's work to be done with a practitioner.
Yeah, I have to say I once tapped away for about 15 minutes until I felt better about something. So I know sometimes it can take a while to shift.
It can do.
Another question that people tend to ask a lot is, how hard do they tap?
With comfort, I would say. You don't need to tap hard. There is no need to tap hard. You are stimulating the acupressure point. So as long as that's stimulated, you certainly don't cause yourself any pain in this at all. I would say gently but firmly would probably be a good way to describe it.
As long as you can definitely feel it, but not hammering.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's quite a harsh name for this point, the karate chop point, but it's not. It's my hand's loose here, so it's that kind of amount of tapping.
Yeah. Another question that comes up quite a lot is, does tapping become more effective the more often you use it? As in, if you use it frequently, does the amount of time it takes for change to happen decrease, or is it just a different approach when you're on your own or with a practitioner?
Again, it could be the place that it could be how the emotion that's coming up on the day. If that is coming from somewhere that is deeply stored emotionally, then it may take longer to reach a point where the emotion's calmed. Being familiar with the tapping process is going to help, rather than having to think through, am I in the right place and doing the right thing, which, like we said at the beginning, don't worry, don't just be on the points, and it doesn't matter what order. And go with intuition, please. That's a really big message I want to put across. Really, really trust your intuition with this one. But yes, it's being familiar with the tapping points helps. But if, as I said before, if you find that the issue is feeling just too deep to work with yourself, that's the time to really go and see a practitioner.
Absolutely. And the one last thing I wanted to cover with you was sort of practicing non-judgment over the emotions that come up.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could talk about that, because I know some people feel guilty for feeling certain emotions.
or in a session, that would probably want to be a route that we would take at the beginning, is to see where that guilt actually came from, why that guilt has arisen. If it's not possible to be with a practitioner, then just tapping on the word guilt, you could quite simply, even though I'm feeling guilty about feeling this emotion, I deeply and completely, and I would put in there a love and accept myself, or soothe and comfort myself. I would use wording that's kind, that's actually going to cushion the guilt that's there. But you could just quite simply, as a first aid, tap on the word guilt.
And I think it's important to remember as well, it's okay to feel something that you don't feel, or that you feel is a wrong thing to feel. It's okay to acknowledge that you have that feeling. Otherwise, you never do work through it.
Because there's a substance to it and a reason for it. So it would be great to say guilt is a wasted emotion. That's often said, but it's a very, very real emotion, and one to be nurtured.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking us through the process. If people are watching this and they want to get in contact with you, because I know you do have a Skype clinic as well, so it doesn't really matter where people are in the world.
Worldwide. I've worked worldwide.
They can get hold of you at your website.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the auraholistictherapies.com. I should point out as well that Leora is also the co-founder of loveyourbelly.org.uk, and they're doing some really lovely work on helping women to reconnect with their bodies and working through various women's health issues through a whole multitude of modalities. So I don't know if you wanted to talk a bit about that as well.
Yes, love your belly is another huge passion. It's bringing the work. I work with another practitioner, Kate Codrington, and we demonstrate how to do self massage. Is the big one. That's really the crux of it. But also to share other natural health ways of taking care of yourself. But the big thing is in all of this is actually connection, as you said, Rachel, is connecting with a part of your body that you may feel very distanced from, which is what many women do experience. So it's the heart womb connection is what we really try and nurture in our workshops, and we have one coming up on the 4th of October for fertility.
Wow. I'll make sure the link is below.
Thank you.
Find them. I was just wondering, before we go, for anyone out there that is suffering from debilitating period pain, have you got a quick message for them?
Well, because I can come from the professional perspective and come from a very personal perspective. If you'd have told me 15 years ago that I didn't have to experience period pain, I would have laughed, because it seemed unbelievable. But there are, I would say, just unexpected ways that you can ease your pain. There's going to be a physical link, most likely, but please don't ignore the emotional connections to why you're experiencing the pain.
Leora, thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's been wonderful going through the process, and it always amazes me how, even though I was thinking of an event, it's about 7 years ago now, and I still felt a difference.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's powerful stuff.
Brilliant. And as I said, the links will be below, and this is one of a series of videos about period pain, so do subscribe or like so that you can see the others as they pop up.